Hey guys, Daniel here. I got a question from a reader the other day that I felt like it would be the easiest to actually answer it in a quick video. So, Michael writes another question. Is there a Python plugin for Sublime 2 or 3 that shows your syntax completion or errors? And to this, I would say there are actually potentially multiple plugins that you want to install that are going to help you with checking your syntax, and that are going to help you add autocomplete to Sublime Text if you're writing Python, right? So let's talk about the error checking or the syntax checking first. So what I would recommend here is that you would actually install something that's called a linter or code linter, which is a little program that's going to check your Python code for errors, common mistakes, syntax errors, misspellings, also stuff like correct formatting. Are you using the right indentation? Are you using consistent indentation? Are your variables named in a certain way that is sort of commonly accepted in the Python community? And there's one option, or there's actually two options for the linter itself. And then you want to pick a plugin for Sublime Text that's actually going to go out and run the linter on your code, and then parse out the error messages from that linter and display them in line with your code. So let's talk about the actual linters first. There's actually two products that are free that I would recommend. The first one is called Flake 8, which is it's a code linter for Python, and it's actually a combination of two tools that are called Flake or PyFlakes, I believe, and Pep8, which is sort of a formatting checker. So just use Flake 8. It's probably going to do 95% of what you want, and you don't have to spend a lot of time tweaking it and setting it up. So I highly recommend Flake 8. The other option for a linter is called PyLinter, or PyLint. It's a really great tool. It's a pretty comprehensive solution, so you might want to spend some time to actually tweak it to make sure it suits your needs. So it's generally easier to start using Flake 8 rather than starting out using PyLinter right away. And these days I'm using Flake 8 primarily because I feel like it does pretty much all I need, and I just don't want to bother with setting up PyLint anymore. So once you decided on the actual linter program that you want to use, the actual code linter, you're going to want to get your error messages into your Sublime Text editor, so that as you're typing out the code or opening a file, it's just going to call you out on the little mistakes that crept in, or just things are going wrong with your code. So there is actually a great plugin that I would recommend. It's called Sublime Linter, which is sort of a umbrella thing that supports various linters through other plugins. So you're only going to have to deal with Sublime Linter, and then you can install plugins for Sublime Linter that then actually going to go and lint your Java code, lint your Python code, lint your C code, and so on. So it's pretty flexible and the best tool that I've found so far. So you want to get Sublime Linter and the Flake 8 plugin for Sublime Linter, and then also Flake 8. So this is it can be a bit challenging, a bit finicky to set up. So I plan to write more on this, or maybe actually do sort of a quick video tutorial on how you're going to set this up. But it's so worth it. Once you have this set up, it's actually awesome. Once it works, it is just really, really great, and it's really made my life as a Python programmer a lot easier. So let's move on to the other part of the question, which was, is there anything that gives you autocomplete or syntax completion? So there are options for that, to do that within Sublime Text. However, I'm not a big fan of them. Probably one that I could recommend the most, I believe it's called Sublime Code Intel. And that seemed to be a good choice back in the day when I tried it, but I actually stopped using it altogether. And these days, I just flat out don't use autocomplete anymore. Which, I had discussions about this with coworkers who are generally big fans of PyCharm, and PyCharm is really good at this autocomplete stuff. It's not perfect. I think with Python in general, you're never going to get to a place where you're going to get Java level autocomplete in your tooling. It's just not going to happen because of the way how the language is structured and how it's so because of how typing works in Python, it is really difficult for tools to actually come up with autocompletions that make sense. So one of the things that really irritated me was that I would get these inaccurate autocompletions where I felt like I could just do a better job if I wouldn't get distracted by these incorrect autocompletes. and actually just not have them and work without them. And many experienced developers that I know, they don't use autocompletes at all, right? Sort of many of them, I felt like, or many people in the Python community seem to move more towards simpler tooling. Personally, I definitely noticed that as well, in my setup, where sort of I've reduced the number of plugins that I run in my Sublime Text, because I feel like for the tools that I use, I want them to be really good and I want to get a lot of value out of them. And I'm not going to use something that is, working only 50% of the time. So your mileage might totally vary with this stuff. I would still, recommend you give it a shot, but, also know that it's totally okay to turn it off and just not bother with it if it becomes a distraction. I've heard good things about Visual Studio Code as well and its autocomplete. Might want to give that a shot as well. However, if you want to stay within Sublime Text, probably check out Sublime Code Intel and see how that works for you. I think that's all I have to say about this topic. But, I love talking about this stuff, so feel free to drop me an email. You're going to be able to find it in the description of that video, and you can just link through to, or click through to my blog and then just shoot me an email or hit me on Twitter. And I'm going to do another video about your question. Cool. Talk to you soon. Bye now.